Ali.
Oh,
This thing blurs.
100 Club.
No.
Trevor Harrington. Look at that. Tied up.
But my kids ripped the arms off of it because they were trying to make it like, you know. And so now it's sort of like a hostage bobblehead.
Well,
I've got a hair tie around it, so I tried to glue it, but the glue didn't work. So this is what we got.
who knew you would find use for a hair tie?
Most of the time I just find them in the drain of the bathtub. So
Awesome, man. Congratulations on the bobblehead. What is that? Top 100? What's the 100 Club?
Oh, no, this is a
What's it
100 fundings with the company. So
Oh, nice.
I guess we're recording this. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was either armless or, at least have the arms, but it's a hostage bobblehead now. So
Good.
it's like
Good.
it's just a testament to how my kids basically destroy everything.
How they treat you. Yeah. Welcome to the show, little Trevor. Big Trevor, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. Happy to be here.
All right, so here we are, the week of September 15th through the 19th. Big week. Coming off of Hell on Earth week, for sure. So we're back at it. This is our real estate show. We talk real estate news. We got a Fed week. We got a big week coming up. For some of us, maybe a lot of us. I don't know. I kind of wanted to talk about this. Trevor, I don't think I gave you like a heads up. But I figure I'm going to just get into it.
Do you ever give me a heads up? I don't know.
No. I can't go on. I'm just one of those guys. I'm not going to go on today and just act like, yeah, life is normal. So we came off of a tough week last week. We get blasted with some bad news. And then it gets piled on more bad news with Charlie Kirk. And then we roll into September 11th week. So just absolutely brutal. And I got to say, most people probably know my politics. You know, you and I play guitar at church, whether people know that or not. I don't care. But we don't go around, like, this is obviously a real estate show. We talk about real estate, obviously, our social medias, other things. And so we don't get into politics too much other than how they affect, things directly with us. But apart from that, or religion, I guess, but it was just so big and so heavy last week that I kind of am like, screw that, because I think my values and my morals are more important than my wallet.
Yeah.
I guess. The thing is, we don't talk about it a lot in our industry. You're kind of taught not to talk about it because you might isolate your clients and, like, God forbid, and then you might lose a deal because somebody doesn't see your opinion. And losing a deal because somebody doesn't have the same viewpoint of you is one thing, but, like, being shot and killed because somebody doesn't have the same viewpoint as you is another. And so at what point I'm just like, well, screw it. I don't want to work with anybody that would want me dead anyways. So there it is. I'm just kind of, I don't know how that'll fit in. But I did just kind of want to acknowledge that last week sucked. That's all.
Yeah, really tough week, man. And you're right. We're taught to not talk about religion and politics because you might isolate your audience. But at the end of the day, Charlie Kirk's message, what he said he wanted to be known for, was his boldness and his faith. And so I think what I've seen come out of this is a lot of boldness and faith. Whatever side of the aisle that you're on, I've seen a lot of people that are now really outspoken about their faith in Jesus Christ. And I think, now is the time.
Yeah.
Now is the time to be bold in your faith. These are really difficult times. We're seeing a lot of just evil in this world. But I do love that people are outspoken about their faith in Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. No more being lukewarm. For
Yeah.
me. I'll say that. And then we can get on. life goes on. At the same time, like life does go on. Like we there's a moment for sadness and a moment for the sorrow, and we take remembrance, and we to those we have influence over, or those even we don't. We want to send a message like, hey, we're not going to forget, and we're going to make decisions in the future, based off of looking how things played out in the past. And so for me, it's like, okay, no more lukewarm, but also back to work on Monday. So here we are. We're going to keep on the good fight, keep providing for our families, keep working, because at the end of the day, that's all you can do.
Well, at the end of the day, too, I mean, I want to be bold in my faith. I'm a follower of Jesus.
Yeah.
He is my Lord. He is my Savior, and I'm open to anybody that wants to discuss that. Again, we don't get into that typically within our jobs, because it maybe isolate people, whatever it means. But I think we're kind of past that at this point. And
I agree. And if anything, that's what it did. What you're seeing is like you're seeing a moment in time where we kind of were sitting on the sidelines, but man, how do I put this? I'm going to have to probably clean this up a little bit, I guess, to say what I'm thinking. I'm just going to be kind of more bold in the faith and more out there. Already have some, even with my posting, and even watch, and even reflecting on some of, I do a lot of, if you follow my ex, I do a lot of bullying politicians. So maybe I'll be a little nicer on there, I guess, as well. So more bold in the faith, one direction, maybe a little more gentle in the spirit in the other hands. And just not be afraid to put it out there. Because like I said, it's my values, my beliefs are more important to me than any amount of money going in my wallet. So if I lose people over that, I don't care. And you know what? From what we've seen, like the outpouring, I think there's a lot of people that think like us, and just like how you and I have the ability to respect other people's beliefs, there's plenty of people out there that, regardless of whether they agree with us, respect our beliefs and would love to do business with us. So that's what we're here for. That's who we're here for. Okay.
Yeah,
Fed
man.
week. Big week this week. Fed week is coming. Today is a Monday, recording this. Tuesday and Wednesday, the Fed is meeting. All signs are pointing towards a Fed reduction, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But side note, rates have already been slipping down. We'll get into mortgage rates right off the bat here. They're at their lowest point since October 24, 11 months ago. That is a rate of 6.25% today. And the only reason we can't really say even longer back, because if you look at the charts, they were already high. They just took like a one-day dip in September last year, and then they shot back up. But so really since October, we started the beginning of the year off at 7.16%, first week of January. And here we are, 6.25%. And so what we're kind of seeing, and Trevor will talk about this, the point I want to get to is investors have already priced that rate cut. They based it off of the high probability of a Fed cut this week. There were some job data revisions that came out, which is a big part of why the investors and industry experts are putting their bets on the fact that the Fed is going to lower rates. So we pretty much think that they're going to lower. But Trevor, what do you think the outcome will be? Because remember, the Fed rate doesn't necessarily mean the mortgage rate. So do you think that we're going to get to see continued downward momentum, or will it possibly kind of like, hey, it's already priced in with this change?
Well, we've always talked about it. I mean, rates are anticipatory. The changes typically come leading up to what experts think are going to happen. So when there's news out that they announced at the last meeting that said, oh, we're going to drop rates, and then more speculation came out about rates being dropped again later in the year, then rates start to drop at that point. And we have seen consistent drops every day, probably for the last week and a half. So we've said it, I don't know how many times on this podcast, man. The time is now. The time is now. Like, why do we continue to wait? I mean, I've been calling so many people now about refinancing, because you're right.
Yeah.
Last year, even parts of last year, we were doing loans at 8%. And the mentality people have is like, sort of like know when to get out. You know, if you're getting into the whole gambling scene of things, like,
Yeah.
oh man, I made my money, like this now, okay, pull out. Or sometimes in
Right.
like stocks, now's the time to get out. You've got a good opportunity in front of you. And to your point of last September, we had a huge dip. Some people got to take advantage of those lower rates. I think you were one of them.
Yeah.
And then they shot back up. So when we're telling people like, hey, $300-400 a month is a lot of money, you think there's going to be more savings within that? Oh yeah, I think they're going to go lower. They're saying they're going to go lower, and then they don't, and then you've missed a huge opportunity. Or they continue to go lower, and now you've lost out on those incentives that you could have gotten from sellers. So the whole waiting game of thinking that maybe you're an expert and that things are just going to get better and better. Okay, maybe they do get a little bit better. Okay, maybe you could just say $50 more a month, but it could also go the opposite direction, where now you're stuck paying the same payment you've been paying, and you could have saved yourself $300-400 a month. So, yeah, we've seen a ton of dips, man, but it's very crazy to me how I'm still seeing people that are hesitant about making a decision to either buy a house or to refinance. So I would say the time is now.
And what people don't really realize is, just because there's a Fed rate drop doesn't mean that mortgage rates can go up. There's plenty of times when we look at the data, look at the historical data, where the Fed comes out and lowers rates and mortgage prices go up. In fact, that's kind of the discussion that we're having this week. There's a possibility of that. The first part of that is what I just said. The banks and the investment groups, they've already priced this rate cut in. So if the mortgage rates were going to come down due to the Fed rate come down, that already happened. Now, we all know J.P. Powell, the chairman of the Fed. He's a little bit of he looks at data that's 2 years old to make his decisions. He's a little bit pessimistic. We know he plays politics. I don't care what you say. He's not supposed to, but we know he does. Just look at it. You're blind or stupid if you don't understand that. He does. Okay, so if he comes out, and even though he's forced to lower rates because he can't do anything about it because he's got his mandates and jobs are part of that and it's all that on paper, he has to. But if he comes out there with it and opens his mouth and spews negativity, that's enough to make the investors feel uncomfortable and raise their prices, which thus will raise rates again. So it's not just a slam dunk that the rates were lowered. There's also the presser. It's crazy. The presser and the headlines have just as much effect on the investors and the large equity groups as they do on the average consumer who's out there trying to decide whether to purchase and sell. These big JP Morgan Chase, all these big banking groups, they're watching the headlines to decide whether they're going to buy and sell, and all that is what affects the rates. So there's a lot to it, and that's where Trevor is alluding to the risk that, like, hey, the rates keep coming down, but there's no guarantee. Now, there is a possibility that he comes out there and not only do they lower rates, but then he makes a positive statement, which in our case, yours and mine, we would be happy to welcome the downward momentum in the rates. And I'm sure there's a lot of buyers that would be. But we want to talk about something that comes up here in just a minute that goes with that. But before we do, just to kind of put the nail in the coffin on the rate that we got going right now, the drop in rates potentially gives the average buyer as much as $34,000 in purchase price. So what I mean by that is, if you would have bought a house in January and you qualified for maybe say like, $3,000 a month for your monthly qualification. Well, now that $3,000 a month, because the rate is lower, you could potentially buy a house that costs more. So if we look at total purchase price, say $400,000 house in Jacksonville was your top in January. Now you could be looking at, hey, I can qualify for $435,000 and I'm making that same payment. So you've always got to kind of keep this in mind. You're looking at both, not just the overall purchase price, but that monthly payment. Anything else about rates before we talk about inventory? I want to talk about inventory. It's going to kind of continue the conversation, but before we segue in there.
Yeah, I mean, the Fed announcement on whether rates are going to lower is not the only thing that impacts rates. So I know people are just, they hang in every word of the Fed and what they're going to say, but I mean, you've got things like inflation, the jobs report. I mean, those have great impacts as well. So I mean, it could be a case where the jobs report is what they think it's going to be, or it's better. And if it's better, then that could have a negative impact on rates. So I mean, it's not just the one thing. So again, don't want to beat you over the head with this, but an old saying we came from. A bird in the hand's worth more than two in the bush, right?
Yeah.
You know what you got in your hand. You have savings. You have as you mentioned before, more buying power. You know what you got in your hand. Are you going to take the chance that maybe there's more down the road, or are you going to just, go with what you got instead of just risking it? And I feel like people are now in this mode of like, I'm just going to continue to gamble and hope it gets better. But as rates move down, again, more demand's going to come in. More people are going to want that house that was available for 60 days. Now they're flying off the shelf because now all of a sudden everybody's got more buying power and payments are easier to make. And now all of a sudden, that rate you're waiting to drop down is going to cost you a lot more money out of your pocket to get any given house. So, I mean, there are trade-offs here. You're in a beautiful window right now where rates are the lowest they've been in a year. Prices are still coming down. Homes are still in the market for a long time, and you can really take advantage and get everything that you need to get out of buying a home and refi later. If the rates drop later, then refi later. You've already got your house. You've already got all the incentives. You've already got all the benefits that are available right now in a really good buyer's market. So don't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've been watching rates, if you've been looking at that, definitely don't wait, because I want to talk. That kind of gets us into the next segment, where a lot of people say they're waiting for the market to crash. But the problem is it already did. They're sitting there. They're listening to their uncle that lives in the spare room at their parents' house. They're listening to their friend who pays rent and has 2 roommates who are telling them it's a terrible decision to buy a house and they should rent for now until it crashes. The only people they're not listening to is experts like you and me who actually live in this stuff. The deal is the market did crash. Was it price? No. But it was units sold. For the last 3.5 years, we've been in this recession where homes haven't sold, and I've got data right in front of me. I'll put it up on the screen. National single-family inventory, it's up 21% year over year. So your uncle who lives in the spare room, your friend's paying rent, they're going to say, oh, no, there's so much inventory, so much inventory. The thing is, we're still below 2019 levels of inventory. Now, you will hear, hey, we reached 2019 levels of inventory. You're right. Peak season 25 reached the lowest level of 2019, but during peak season of 2019, we're still way below that. We're about 80. Look at this. We hit 90,000 homes, or 900,000 this year, and in 2019, it was close to 1 million. So we're almost 100,000. We're about 90,000 to 100,000 fewer homes hitting the market than we were in a normal real estate year, the last one at 2019. And by the way, we dipped all the way down to only about 200,000 homes on the market in spring of 2022. So not only are we at a deficit this year, but 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. I mean, just add up the years. We've been hundreds of thousands below the normal inventory level of sales. This is why sellers are freaking out, calling me. They're like, my house has been on the market for 2 months. And I'm like, yeah, average days on the market right now is 90 days. So, of course, we're still on the market. We haven't even average, and you don't want to lower your price. You don't want to correct your price. Prices never crash, but they did correct. They came down a little bit. They went crazy there for a couple years, and they did come down. But this year we're still seeing 3.9% appreciation in the last 12 months right here in Jacksonville. So we're still seeing appreciation at a normal level, but we're seeing sales slow. But here's the thing, Trevor, going back to our conversation we were just having, how does this tie in? What does it mean? All those incentives you were just talking about. That's why the incentives exist. Those 60 days on market, 90 days on market, the time it's taking. Sellers, 40% of sellers own their home outright in this country and they don't have a mortgage. Those people don't have to lower their price. I'll just keep my house. The rest of them, due to strict financing, right, guidelines, whatever, they're sitting fine. They're not in trouble on making their payments. And because we printed $80 trillion or whatever it was in the last few years, they've got $100,000 equity. So if they lost their job, God forbid, and had to sell, they could cut their price 30, 40 grand, sell it like that, no problem, and they'd still put money in their pocket. So there's no pressure. There's no 2008 recession pressure on them to sell. But what they're doing, rather than taking money away, is the incentives. But what we might see as interest rates come down, as seasonal inventory comes down, those incentives start to go away like you were talking about.
Yeah, and everybody that says the market's going to crash now don't know why the market crashed back in 2008. So
All they saw was that prices went up. Prices went up in 2008 and in 2006 and 7, and the market crashed in 2008, and prices went up in 21 and 22. So that's the only thing. There's only one data point that they use to compare.
I'll do a shameless plug here. Normally I don't do this, but if you haven't seen The Big Short, go watch it. It's a big Hollywood movie about the mortgage crisis in 2008, and you'll have a new understanding of why the market crashed. The market crashed because lenders were not verifying people's income. They were just saying, "Oh, I make this much." You've got exotic dancers in the movie that are buying 5 condos at a time, never verifying whatever their income was going to be. They just stated it. They wrote it down. You've got lenders that are in cahoots with appraisers saying, "Hey, man, I'll fly you to Hawaii if you appraise this one, $700,000 for me." You got people that can't make their payments. They've been given multiple homes, and then they begin to foreclose at huge and massive rates because they cannot afford the payments. They were never properly qualified. So that was a big reason why the market crashed in 2008. Now there's new mortgage guidelines that are in place to verify income. It is very stringent. They make sure these people have the ability to repay these loans, so we don't end up in a crisis, like we did at that point. So if you're saying it's going to crash just because you feel like the economy's struggling or times are rough, I mean, that has really nothing to do with the housing crisis.
Yeah, and it's just its own thing. And going back to that movie, it is a good movie, and there's a scene in this movie where the guys are trying to kind of figure out what's happening, and there's like this there's this neighborhood that is kind of like half finished. It's like a newer neighborhood, obviously, but then that never got finished because people stopped buying. And they're knocking on the doors, kind of handing out these letters that say, "Hey, it shows you're behind on your payments." And guess who answers the doors? Renters. Renters were paying rent to the guy who owned the house, but he's just pocketing the money and not paying his bill. I can't tell you. Believe it or not, I was selling real estate back then. I had my real estate license, and that exact scenario happened to me. I'm not kidding, because that was the only way we did sales back then, because those were the only properties that were going. You got the list of Liz Pendens. You downloaded the list of people who were missing their payments, and you went door to door, and you knocked on their door, and you said, "Hey, listen, we know what's going on, and we want to kind of help you. Here's your options," and presented them some options, and then worked as kind of like a go-between with the bank to handle what became the short sales there, where people were selling their house for less than what they owed. It was an option that was, I guess, wasn't as bad as the foreclosure process. You were kind of getting the bank to agree on taking the loss, and something was better than nothing, I guess, was their output there, and then the people were able to kind of get out from under the house if they lost their job or whatever that was happening. All these economic factors. And I say this all the time, too. Those of you who are sitting around saying, "I'm waiting for the market to crash so I can buy a house," you have no experience in the real estate world, and I can tell you, just from experience being in those worlds, you're not going to be buying a house because you're probably not going to have a job, and you're going to be searching for work instead, because that's the economic factors that actually cause a housing crisis and a housing crash. It's not like, "Oh, everything in the economy's great, and my stock market's going great, and my job just gave me a big bonus, and all these people lost their houses, so now I can buy one cheap." Like, it just doesn't even make sense. In what world would that happen?
I mean, since we're on the subject of movies, I'm a big movie buff, but I think about the end of Dumb and Dumber as well. When they're walking down the road, and the big Hawaiian Tropics bus pulls up, and they open the windows up, and they're like, "We need a couple of oil guys," whatever. They're like, "You know what? The town actually is down there. Somebody down there, you'll find somebody." And then they're like, "Man, 2 lucky guys are going to get to do that." And it's sort of like an opportunity comes, and maybe that's not a great example, but
I get it though.
But it's like, hey, the opportunity is here. Of course, it says the town's back that way. But the opportunity could stare you in the face. And you'd be like, "You know what? Just going down the road. We'll wait for the next one. Something will come our way and it'll work out." And like, it's really glaring you in the face right now to have an opportunity.
Right.
And again, there's lots of people in these types of markets, the market crash or even pre-COVID, that saw the signs, that did invest, and they made a ton of money into it. So I think we're maybe not in great as situations as COVID and what the crash in '08 were. but we're still in opportunities where you've got a nice time right now to get $10,000-$15,000 off cost.
Right.
Get the seller to pay for certain repairs, new roofs, whatever the case may be.
The market is slow. It's low risk to you, and you can get great incentives. I mean, what else could you be asking for? You can take your time, make a wise decision, not feel rushed. And, I work with buyers. They go out and they wrote an offer on this house. The seller's not willing to do. Okay, we'll walk away. Wrote an offer on this house. Seller's not willing to do. Okay, we'll walk away. Third house, wrote the offer. Yeah, we'll give you that incentive. Okay, it worked out. In the COVID years when there was a 1% interest rate, that was not happening. Instead, there were 40 offers on that house, and you had to write a $50,000 above ask. As is, there's a hole in the roof, no inspection, no appraisal. I don't care. I'll take it. And so, you can't have it. People scream, stop the inflation, but then when there's a deflation or when there's a slowdown, oh my God, panic and fear set. Well, what did you think the alternative was to get back to a correct balanced market? Going over these stats right now, we're seeing 3.9% appreciation, 4 to 5% appreciation. We say it all the time. That's your normal appreciation year over year. So we've got normal appreciation, a safe, balanced market. It's just gone up slightly. Closed sales down a little bit in Jacksonville. We talked about that. Median days on market, 45 days. That's median now. That's all of Northeast Florida. We're seeing a bunch of micro markets, however, where homes might be taking 90 to 120 days to sale, and then there's different price points, luxury price point, entry-level price point, investor price point, but this is everything lumped together. So a month and a half, and that means if you're going to start shopping for a listing or you're going to put your house on the market, you got to do a little bit of prep there. Last couple points here, month supply of inventory. NFR.com is showing 5 months supply of inventory. Realtor.com is tracking us at 6.3. Now, 6.3 is getting into that buyer market where 5 to 6 is viewed as kind of a balanced, healthy market. So we're right there. If not a buyer's market, we are a buyer-friendly, buyer advantage market here in Northeast Florida in Jacksonville. So you're right there. We talked about it a little bit. I've got that in the notes. And here's the deal. Going, Trevor, to all of this, you got to look internally. If you're thinking about buying a house or selling a house, you've got to look internally. You've got to decide, is the time right for me based on my needs? Yes or no? That's the first step. Don't think about what anybody's telling you, whether it's a good investment, bad investment. Your real estate's not we talk about it being more of a savings account to you. It's a better deal than paying rent. But your primary home where you're going to live is not necessarily an investment. It's just you have to pay to live somewhere. So you might as well kind of pay into something that gives you money back versus not paying in to give money back and view it as a long-term savings account. But anyway, you've got to first decide, do I need to move? Do I want to move? And then if that is yes, then work with experts like us to decide, okay, now where is the best way to get a deal? What's the best program I can enroll in to get these benefits? Which, you know what I mean? What loan types do I want to use that benefit me the most? You kind of take it to the next step. Because if you're planning to live in your house 5, 10 years, 7 to 15 years, whatever that time frame is, it doesn't matter. You're going to get appreciation whether you bought this year or last year. Oh, my value went down a little bit. It might dip a little bit after the first year, but 10 years later, it sure hasn't. Anything to kind of add to that? Once you internally say, yes, I want to buy, then what are we looking for?
Yeah, and anybody that's ever worked with us, I mean, the way that we're going to treat you is with honesty. So I know we're pushing things like, hey, the time is now, do it right now. But at the end of the day, we're not, if you were to call us and say, hey, I'm looking at buying a house, if it wasn't the best thing for you or you felt it wasn't the right time or whatever it may be, we're going to do our best to give you what's best, for you. And I've had people that have come to me before and be like, hey, man, I don't think it's the best thing for you to do right now. Or, maybe this option is better for you. I don't maybe make money on this, but I think going this direction is the best thing, for you and for your family. So
rent this house out. Keep it as a portfolio.
Yes.
Don't sell it. Why would you ever sell this house? Keep it.
So even though our message may come across as, I wouldn't say pushy, but maybe aggressive a little bit. But for those that are out there actively searching, and those are the ones we are kind of speaking to that the time is now. If you're ready to buy, but you're just sitting around waiting for something to happen,
I think the point is we don't want you to be afraid or uninformed.
Yeah.
The idea is don't be afraid. Don't let some headline, don't let a relative or a friend get in your head and scare you from a decision that later on down the road is going to be the best decision you ever made. So explore it and talk to professionals, Trevor and I, to get real data, real-time market data and insights into the process, and then make your decision confidently and comfortably, and you can't lose. And we're not afraid to say it that way because we have a proven track record of experience and expertise doing it that way.
Yeah, and do what's best for you. I mean, turn off the noise around you. Everybody wants you to give you their opinion. Your mechanic, your Aunt Jenny, whoever it may be, is going to have 1,000 opinions about everything. But at the end of the day, it's about you. It's about your family doing what's best for them, and that's the way we're going to guide you. I have 6 children, and I would want somebody that I'm going to as a professional to guide me in the way that was best for my family, and that's exactly how we're gonna do it.
Exactly. And sellers, if you're thinking about selling, listen, we're hitting that seasonal dip in inventory. It's coming down. There's a chance we might start the year off at 2019 levels, but the only way we're going to start the year off at January 2019 level is if we have some late season peak. And it just isn't looking like we're going to get this rush of inventory. The holidays are right around the corner. But now is the time to start prepping. Because as you're hearing what I'm saying, hey, we're going to continue to have more inventory. That means days on market is going to go from 45 to 60 days to 90 days. In 2017, 2018, 2019, you were looking at a 6-month timeline to get your house sold. Once it hit the market, that was considered normal, is considered normal. And a lot of people who their first home buying experience was in 2020, 2021 are going to be turning the corner here in 2026, looking at, that's your timeline, or to our military active duty people out there are on rotation schedules. So your experience buying is going to be different than your experience selling. And what matters is that you prepare for the market. Gone are the days of putting any trash house on the market and getting top dollar for it. In fact, if your house isn't in almost turnkey condition, it might not even get any showings. And even if it is turnkey, even if it is nice, but you don't have it expertly exposed, meaning the marketing's not on point and your price isn't on point, you also won't get any showings. And that's just how it is. So the time to start having conversations with me is today. If you're thinking about getting your house on the market early spring, we want to have that house ready to go. And we got a lot of distractions coming up. We got the holiday season, a lot of things to work around. You only have so much time. We've got about 5 weeks before we get into Thanksgiving. Then, and I know Thanksgiving's only a day and it's not a week, but you know how people are. And mentally, we're all kind of like, I don't know how you guys operate, but I'm kind of like the freight train. I get some momentum going. I get it. And I'm rolling and I'm making my calls and I'm doing my emails and I'm doing my thing and I'm closing deals. And then it's like a holiday weekend comes and I shut down, and then it's like, it takes me a week to get rolling again. But once you hit Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then there's this work party, and there's this vendor party, and then there's this poker tournament, and then there's Christmas, and it's like, whoa, nonstop hitting you, right? So in between that, as a seller, you're trying to paint the walls, declutter the house, get the carpet replaced, right? Before you go to the market. I'm telling you, just saying I'm going to give you a credit at closing is not going to be enough in spring 2026. You need to do this stuff up front. That's why you got to get active today. I'd love to sit down with you and kind of go over what will actually make you money and what is a waste of time. Don't even think about it. For our buyers, this seasonal decline in inventory paired with more demand due to lower rates could also mean that these incentives are harder to get. So if rates keep coming down, as they're calling for, feds are going to keep lowering throughout the rest of the year, potentially. Anything can change, but those are the predictions. And then as we get inventory up and running, and as all these sellers are realizing my home's got to be in top shape, well, the sellers are going to be offering a good product, so they're not going to be giving you the incentives, right? Those are my big takeaways. Bottom line, like we said, I guess the point to hammer home is like, look internally at what your needs are, what your wants are, and then depending on whether the time is right for you personally, make your decision on how to go about it in the best way possible.
Yeah, that's great, man. There's too many choices out there for buyers if a seller does not take the time to properly get their house prepared prepared to sell. It's too easy for a buyer to be like, no, let's move to the next one. I like this one, but so I mean, you've got to understand that those things take time, and the preparation is very key if you are planning on selling. And I guess my final message today is if you bought in the last year and a half, 2 years, really need to look at refinancing. Your home.
Yes.
Taking advantage of the rates in this market. Maybe they get better, but they also could get worse, and you could be stuck in a higher rate for longer than you wanted to. So the time is definitely now. To all of my past clients that do follow me, I've probably called you a million times already. The time is now to look into that, or at least have a conversation about it. Refinancing is an investment; it's not free. We do it for definitely a cheaper cost point than a lot of other lenders do, but it's the time to have the conversation about it. $200-300 a month does go a long way. Again, especially with the holidays around the corner. You have a month layover at least with your payment. So really a lot of opportunity to save some money and take advantage of this market.
Trevor, thanks so much.
Yeah, man.
Listen, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, and you want to dive deeper into it, head over to my website, riggsgroupfl.com. On the blog segment there, I'm going to have this episode broken down into an easy-to-read blog. It's going to have all the charts, all the data, all the links to all the websites and resources. Share that with your uncle. Share that with your friends, right? Let them know, like, hey, look at this data. I want to have these conversations with you, uncle, about what your opinions are, but let's look at the data and dive into it together, and then have a conversation that's built on information and not just like opinions, right? So head over to riggsgroupfl.com, or if you're thinking about buying a house, refinancing, get in contact with us, click contact us, and we'll get in touch with you. We try to get in touch with everybody within 24 hours of that coming in, so we'd love to hear from you.
Future home loans, if you got any questions about your home loan needs, anything that you want, and kick the tires, please give me a call. Future.loans would love to absolutely help you.
So some people think like, oh, Zillow exists, Realtor.com exists, all these sites exist. I'm going to do my own research, MBA, Mortgage Bankers Association, whatever, and I don't want to bug you. And I'm like, no, please bug me. Please bug us. If you're thinking about making a move in 1 to 2 years, bug us. We want to get connected with you, because the immediate thing of opening doors, doing your mortgage app, yeah, we can handle that. If you got a quick need, like, oh, no, I'm ready next week, fine, we'll get it going. But what we really excel at is when you come to us and you say, hey, man, next year I want to buy something. Trevor can look at your finances today and say, ooh, found this thing that you could qualify for $50,000 more if we just cleared up XYZ.
Yeah.
Or I'm able to start understanding what your real needs are. So I can start watching the market, and I'll start sharing these insights with you, so that when you're in that 30-day window and we go out and we're physically looking at houses and we find the house that is the one, we know, hey, I've seen a dozen houses before that were higher priced. This is a good deal. Trevor's already got your paperwork started, so we can put a competitive offer in, and it's part of getting you those incentives and interest rates and closing costs and everything up front. And so the more prepared we are, the better. So if you're on a 1 year timeline, we still want to connect with you. If you're on a 0 to 3 months, you better call us today.
Yeah, and in some cases, I deal with all kinds of credit too. So if you think your credit's got to be perfect, it doesn't have to be. But if you are in a window and you're thinking next year I may want to buy, but maybe you got some concerns with your credit, maybe a good time for us to take a look at it and see are there some things that we can improve to put you in a position to purchase in a year. Because the last thing you want to do is be like, oh man, I'm ready to go. You pull your credit and then there's an issue. And with credit, you can't always fix things like really quick. Sometimes they take time, to get them right and to get them to report correctly and to update your score, things like that. So, credit is something I've dealt with in my entire 14-year career. I've seen thousands upon thousands of credit reports, no different ways that we can help you out to get you in the position you need to be. But your credit doesn't have to be perfect. There's options out there for everyone. So don't feel like you've got to be in a perfect position to purchase.
Yeah.
We can help a lot of folks.